Good evening, everyone. Welcome. So tonight we're going to look at the second of the three higher trainings. Three higher trainings are based on a mind of... They're called higher because they're motivated by the desire to become free of all suffering. And the first higher training is called moral discipline. Developing a mind that wishes to become completely pure. And free from all faults. The second moral and second higher training is concentration. And the third higher training is wisdom. So tonight we're going to spend this week and next week dealing with concentration. So we'll begin with liberating prayer, and then we'll do a meditation, and then we'll talk about concentration, and we'll do some practice of concentration.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dharma flourish forevermore.
And so we can meditate So in meditation we try to have a good posture. You try to have a straight back. And you can place the back of your right hand in the palm of your left like this, and raise the thumbs so the tips of your thumbs touch gently together, and relax your hands into your lap. You can gently close your mouth and close your eyes. Or if you prefer, you can have your eyes very slightly open. So you're sitting in good posture. Check your body is comfortable and relaxed. In How to Transform Your Life, Venerable Geshe says, when your mind becomes free from the turbulence of distracting thoughts, and a deep feeling of peace and happiness and contentment will naturally arise. When your mind becomes free from the turbulence of distracting thoughts, a deep feeling of peace and happiness and contentment will naturally arise. So the issue is, how do we become free of the turbulence of distracting thoughts? Because often when we sit down to meditate, it seems as if our mind becomes even more busy. We can try to address this in the following way. So, most of our distractions are about the external world. So we can simply imagine that the external world disappears. So bring to mind an image of planet Earth. You see all the oceans and the continents, the great mountain ranges, the great cities and populations. And then imagine, use your imagination to think that the whole of planet Earth begins to dissolve away from the edges inwards. The oceans are disappearing. All the continents are disappearing. The great cities and populations are disappearing. Imagine this going on, everything in dissolving into space, until eventually all that remains is Liverpool, the city and its population. And then even the city begins to disappear. First the docks, then the great buildings, all the parks, the schools, the houses, the shops, the population, until eventually all that remains is this room, as if the room is suspended alone in empty space. Everything outside has disappeared. And then use your imagination to imagine that even the room begins to disappear. First the ceiling, then all the statues and the shrine and the walls, everyone else in the room and all the furniture. And then finally the floor and the chair on which you're sitting, so that all that remains is you, your body and your mind, as if you're alone in empty space. And now bring your mind just to watch the rhythm of your own breathing. Imagine you're seeing your breath as you breathe in and breathe out. And you may notice a feeling at the tip of your nose. As you breathe in, you may notice it feels slightly cool. And then as you breathe out, slightly warm. Try to find that feeling. Cool as you breathe in, warm as you breathe out. But the difference is barely noticeable. But try to find that feeling. And then when you find it, just allow your whole mind to absorb into that feeling. So the feeling becomes your whole mind, and your whole mind becomes the feeling. So your mind is completely focused on this feeling, cool and then warm. And if you can allow your mind to remain like that, you can become free from the turbulence of distracting thoughts. Your mind becomes still. And from the stillness of your own mind, you notice a deep feeling of peace and contentment. You may think it would be nice to stay like this for some time. Just enjoying this feeling of peace and contentment. what you're doing is connecting with your basic mind, like a clear, empty sky, free from clouds. A clear mind, free from distractions. And so this basic mind itself is the nature of peace and contentment. So focus on any feelings of peace and contentment that you have. So that when you arise from meditation in a few moments, you can remember these feelings. And you can bring them back again. Just by allowing your mind to become still, just watching the feeling at the tip of your nose as you breathe. And so now you can begin to relax your concentration, allowing your mind to come back to the room, becoming aware of your surroundings. And then when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So, well, you did some concentration there, I hope. Yeah. So what is concentration and why do we need concentration? So concentration is part of our mind that enables our mind to remain single-pointedly on its virtuous object. So we can concentrate on many different things, but the concentration that Buddha is referring to is concentration on virtuous objects. And they're mainly mental objects, mainly decisions or determinations. I'm going to do this, I'm going to stop doing this, because I know if I keep doing this, then I continue to cause problems and suffering, both for myself and for other people. So we have some bad mental habits. You got any bad mental habits? You can nod, you can. Yeah, of course we all do. We have anger, we have strong attachments, we have jealousy, we have deluded pride. But most of all, we have ignorance. We fail to understand the way things really exist, and we have ignorance about the relationship between our own actions and our own experiences. We tend to think that all of our experiences are kind of random events or imposed by some external force. Rarely do we ever think that the main cause of all of our experiences is our own past actions. So we need to really begin to examine this. And it's called karma. There's a specific relationship between our past actions and our own experiences. If we engage in good actions, we experience good experience. We experience good fortune, good conditions, happiness and peace. But if we engage in bad actions that cause hurt to other people, then we experience more problems and suffering. it's important that we realize this, because this is teachings of Buddha, and this is teachings of someone who has the complete wisdom and understanding of everything. And so he gave teachings, and millions of people have followed these teachings and found happiness by putting them into practice. So Buddha appeared 2,500 years ago. So we have like 2,500 years of consumer satisfaction in these teachings. Yeah, so you have to ask, well, I could also. I'm just the same as all these other people who have come before. One head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, and so on. I have a mind, I have a body, and all that everyone else had. And so I too could follow these instructions and experience the benefit. Because if you think of Buddhist practitioners in general, and there are some exceptions, but if you think of Buddhist practitioners in general, they're all pretty peaceful. They're all pretty considerate and kind and loving and compassionate, putting themselves out for other people. And you realize that this is where their happiness comes from. Our main text in our tradition is called The Joyful Path of Good Fortune, a Blissful Journey. It's the joyful path, it's not the miserable path. So what we're doing is trying to put Buddha's teachings into practice so we can fulfill our real promise, our real potential to become extraordinary persons, to become the same loving, compassionate, kind, wise person of all these practitioners who have gone before. So we're not just trying to create an organization. It's completely unimportant. All that's important is we give these teachings so that people can find their own way to their own happiness. And like I said, it's worked countless times in the past. So if we begin to think that yes, there is a relationship, there may be a relationship between my own past actions and my current experiences, and if I want to stop suffering in the future, what do we have to do? You have to stop engaging in bad actions. If you're going to stop engaging in bad actions, you're going to have to stop all your bad mental habits. Because what stimulates us, what causes us to engage in bad actions? Well, it's a mind of anger, mainly. But also it's a mind of attachment. We get attachment to our own views, attachment to our own wishes, and then we get into disagreements with other people who have different views, and then we get into disagreements with other people who frustrate our wishes. And we come across people who are not doing what we want, what we think is right, and instead they're doing stuff that we don't think is appropriate and right. And so there's a dissonance, there's a disharmony goes on. And so because we think our wishes are most important, we feel justified in doing anything to resolve this disharmony in our own favor. Yeah. And all the time we're making mistakes. We're engaging in hurtful actions very often. So sometimes we find ourselves in some difference of views, and instead of saying no all the time, maybe sometimes we need to say yes. Yes, I agree with you. I am a horrible person. Yeah. It's my fault. Yeah. So, Well, as I said, what we try to do is practice pure moral discipline because we want to become free, completely free from any kind of suffering, not just in this lifetime, but after we die, in our next lifetime as well, because our mind just leaves our body, goes into its next life. Mind and body are two different things. They come from different sources. And so even though the body is finished with, the mind continues. And it continues into endless time. And so you can, if you think of your future, it doesn't just end when you're 90 or something. There's no end to your future because you continue to have future lives, one after this one. I think one of the big problems that we have, that we find it so difficult to find real happiness, is that we focus on our physical being. And we think, oh, at the moment, I'm a physical person who happens to have this mind. But if instead we were to think, well, I'm a spiritual person, I've had this mind since beginningless time, and it just so happens I have this particular body in this moment in time. When this body is finished with, I'll have a different body. So instead of just focusing on the quality of our body and the experiences of our body, we should instead be focusing on the qualities of our own mind. Because it's our mind that determines whether we're happy or peaceful or unhappy and suffering. And the causes of our happiness and the causes of our suffering are only to be found within our own mind. So you can imagine if we were to get rid of all the bad mental habits that we have, all the delusions. They're called delusions because it's like what's the word I'm looking for? An illusion. You have an illusion. You see an oasis in the desert, and you parched with thirst, and you run towards the cool water of the oasis. And you dive in. And all you do is plant your face in the sand, because there is no oasis there. So the oasis is an illusion. And similarly, all the negative appearances that we have, they're just illusions being created by our own negative minds. So if we developed the wisdom that was able to realize this, then we could sort out, or we could let go of all these negative minds. But in order to instead focus our mind on the causes of happiness, the cause of happiness is called virtue. Virtuous thoughts, virtuous actions, virtuous speech that's intended to benefit other people, physical actions that are intended to benefit other people, virtuous minds that are, whenever we have them, they're naturally creating happiness and peace. Like minds of faith, minds of love, minds of compassion, minds of wisdom, minds of concentration. Because remember, concentration is focusing our mind single-pointedly on a virtuous object. And mainly mental objects, like the determination, for example, the determination to stop anger. Just if you say to yourself, I'm not going to be angry today, that's a determination. It's a decision. I'm going to stop anger today. And then the next day, we wake up in the mornings, I'm not going to be angry today. So if we do that for over several months, we'll be stopping anger over several months. But if we're able to watch our mind throughout the day, whenever there's a tendency to get irritated with somebody, and whenever you feel like punching somebody in the face, you just hold yourself back. Yeah. Put your hand in your pocket, in your back pocket, or hold on to your belt or something. So, so we can stop ourselves, we can practice fulfilling that decision. I'm not going to be angry today, so we watch our mind. Whenever there's a tendency for anger to come, we step back, we just stop ourselves. And one of the ways we can do this is to switch our mind away from the object. So, if we are to become familiar with minds of love and compassion and wisdom, the way in which we become familiar is by focusing our mind on these objects, these mental objects. Like our knowledge of this relationship between our past actions and our current experiences, like karma. If we have a correct belief in karma, and then we think, oh, I'm going to stop all my negative actions because I want to stop all my future suffering, then we just make a determination. This is what I'm going to do. So when we're in meditation, we focus on that one thought. I'm going to stop all my negative actions, at least for a week. Yeah? Or maybe just a day, or maybe just an hour. Yeah. If you have strong negative tendencies, maybe just 10 minutes. And so you just watch your mind. So you have to focus your mind on that determination, and gradually you become more and more familiar with it. And if you meditate on this often enough, eventually it becomes part of your DNA, so to speak. It becomes hardwired into your mind. So then it becomes almost virtually impossible to engage in any negative actions, because you've made this determination and you've focused your mind on it, and you really become familiar with this this determination to stop engaging in negative actions. And so you've watched your mind and you've just engaged in that practice, even when you're out of meditation. So, in order to become familiar with this determination, we've got to be able to focus our mind upon it. It's no use thinking, oh, I'm going to stop all negative actions. Oh, wonder what's on TV tonight. I mean, it's impossible. We can't become familiar until we're able to hold our mind on the object. Because we're training our mind. It's almost like open heart surgery that we're doing on our mind. We're developing a deeper and deeper experience of having this mind, for example. And so you can imagine, if our mind is jumping around all over the place, it's very hard to become familiar with any particular virtuous mental thought. We never get to the stage where that thought is going to affect our behavior throughout the rest of our life. So we've got to be able to hold our mind on the object. It's called single-pointedly. So it's like just one point. There's an expression, if you have a two-pointed needle, it's very hard to sew with a two-pointed needle. So that's why we have single-pointed concentration, because it can penetrate the object. And by penetrating the object, we become familiar with that object. So we're pretty familiar with a lot of negative stuff, but we're so less familiar with the causes of happiness, with virtuous stuff. Virtuous minds, virtuous speech, virtuous actions. And so we need this single-pointed concentration. So concentration is a mind, is a type of, it's a mind that enables us to hold our mind single-pointedly on a virtuous object. So there's some other aspects of mind that we need as well. There's a mind of alertness. Alertness. Alertness is a mind that knows the difference between virtuous actions that are the cause of happiness and non-virtuous actions that are the cause of suffering. And so it's able, like a spy, to examine what our mind is focused on. So if we're thinking, we're trying to meditate single-pointedly, and then our mind slips away to some non-virtuous action, non-virtuous thought, when next time I see this person, I'm going to punch them in the throat or something. Sometimes we can have these thoughts. So we have a very negative mental intention. And if we have alertness that knows the difference between virtuous thoughts and negative and non-virtuous thoughts, then it can tell us, hey, you're thinking about a non-virtuous thought. And so it gives us a signal that we need to bring our mind back again to the object that we're supposed to be meditating on. But to come back to the object that we're supposed to be meditating on, we need two other qualities of mind. One is conscientiousness. Because if our mind of alertness is saying, hey, you're thinking about a non-virtuous action, and if you have no conscientiousness, you might just be saying, oh, so what? I don't care. I'll just carry on being non-virtuous because it feels good. But if we have conscientiousness, then we want to get back to the object we're supposed to be meditating on. We want to let go of that harmful thought. But in order to be able to get back to where we're supposed to be, we need mindfulness to be able to remember what we were supposed to be meditating on. So if we're meditating on this determination to give up non-virtuous actions, hurtful actions, we need to be able to remember what we're supposed to be meditating. So alertness kicks in, tells us we've lost the object. Conscientiousness wants to get back. Mindfulness enables us to get back to where we want to go. And so we place our mind back on that object and we hold it again single-pointedly. So we're doing this kind of circle dance throughout the whole of the meditation period. We find the object, place our mind on it, then we lose it, alertness kicks in, conscientiousness wants to get back, mindfulness helps us to get back, and then we again place our mind on the object single-pointedly. So we can carry on like this, for the duration of the meditation time, which may be 15 minutes, it could be quite much longer than that. So we're using all these different parts of mind to become more and more familiar with the virtuous thoughts that are the causes of happiness. And we're becoming less familiar with non-virtuous thoughts that are the cause of suffering. So we're letting go of our anger because we're not using it so often. Instead, the virtuous thoughts that we're having more frequently are crowding out all the non-virtuous thoughts. Because we can have one main thought at a time. And if we're having a mind of love, I want this person to be happy, I want to help them be happy, I want to help them with their problems, you can't at the same time want them to be harmed. Yeah. And so these minds of anger are being crowded out. Eventually, we'll just become free of anger. And then we become much more familiar with these virtuous minds of love and compassion, and so they appear more frequently. So naturally, we become more loving, more compassionate, and more wise, because we're improving our concentration. So, what we want to do is to do a very simple exercise that will improve our concentration. But you need to practice it. This is your homework as well. So it's just meditating on the breath, but counting each cycle of breath and trying to count up from 1 to 21. Hardly anyone will get to 21 today. You might get to 5 or 6 before you lose concentration, before your alertness kicks in and says, hey, you've lost the count. So all you do is, when you realize you've lost the count, you go back again, you take your mind back, or you let go of what you were thinking about, take your mind back to the first cycle of breath and start counting again at 1. Don't just go back to where you left off, because you're just cheating yourself. You're just fooling yourself. You think, oh, well, I got to 6, I can just carry on to 10. Oh, I'll lose it again. Well, I can 15. Oh, 21, no problem. If you're doing 6, first time you try this, it's pretty good. Then we just keep going back to 1. You'd be surprised how shallow our concentration is. But if you imagine if you can hold the count up to 21, it's probably about 2 minutes, which is a long time in concentration. But eventually what we're going to try and do, and we'll do more of this next week, is to try and improve our concentration so we can hold the object single-pointedly for 5 minutes. Don't say you can't. Don't say you can't. You certainly all can. You know, there's two ways of thinking about this. If you say, I can do this, or you can say, I can't do this, in either case, you'll be right. So you choose. Choose to say, I can do this. If you think you can't, you have to ask yourself, what's so special about you? Because millions of people have done this before. So let's get started. So sitting in good meditation posture again. Again, just watch your breath. You breathe in, you breathe out. So we're going to try and count our breath, eventually up to 21. Doesn't matter how far we get. The important thing is when we realize we've lost the count, we stop and go back to the beginning. That is the actual practice of concentration. So on your next outward breath, begin to count at 1 and then carry on. So, no matter where you are in the count, just take another 4 breaths, and then you can arise from meditation. So if you practice like that on a daily basis, just 10-15 minutes a day, within 3 to 4 weeks, you could be improving your concentration quite significantly. And imagine all the benefits that will accrue for you if your concentration improves. Imagine if you're trying to read a text. Very often we can read a couple of sentences, then our mind goes away, something else. But if we're able to hold our mind on the meaning of the text, then we can hold it for pages and pages and pages. So there we quickly build up the wisdom. We're not having to drag our mind away every second sentence, drag our mind back from where it went to every second sentence. And so it's very hard to build up an understanding of the meaning of the text then. But if we have concentration, then our wisdom can improve pretty quickly. So, go for it. Go to it. Just practice like that, and you may think, well, the breath is just a neutral object. It's not going to make you too excited or too virtuous or too despondent. But we're just training in concentration. Then once we improve our concentration in this fairly simple way, we can apply it in other areas. It's not just concentration on the breath. We can use that concentration, that skill that we've developed in other virtuous areas. And so naturally, just through the power of concentration, we're becoming better and better. We're experiencing more joy and happiness in our life, and we're being able to give it to other people. I just want to leave you with a couple of things, a little bit from here. However difficult meditation may be at the beginning, we should never give up hope. Instead, we should engage in... Sorry, I forgot my specs upstairs. We should engage in the practice of moral discipline, which prevents us from gross distractions, and acts as a basis for developing pure concentration. Moral discipline also strengthens mindfulness, which is the life of concentration. We need to abandon laziness arising from attachment to worldly pleasures, laziness arising from attachment to distracting activities, and laziness arising from discouragement, thinking I can't do this. You should write down the word can't and score it out several times. Never use it. With laziness, we will accomplish nothing. As long as we remain with laziness, the door to spiritual attainments is closed to us. Laziness makes our human life meaningless. It deceives us and causes us to wander aimlessly in samsara. Samsara is this cycle of uncontrolled rebirth, life after life, in a state of suffering. So we want to be free from that. If we can break free from the influence of laziness and immerse ourselves deeply in spiritual training, we will quickly attain our spiritual goal. Training in spiritual paths is like constructing a large building. It demands continuous effort. If we allow our effort to be interrupted by laziness, we will never see the completion of our work. And then with my mind like a fine horse heading for higher ground, guided by the reins of the Dharma, as Buddhist teachings, the Dharma of the three higher trainings, moral discipline, concentration and wisdom, and urged onwards with the whip of strong effort, now I will swiftly travel the path to liberation. Liberation is a state of permanent peace. So, you can do it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So next week we're going to talk more about concentration. And on Saturday, there's something going on Saturday here. Oh, how to be kind to yourself. Who's teaching that? Oh, it's me.
Thanks, everyone.